quick context about Loocey for everyone who don't know yet or have not used Loocey yet. So Loocey is a really customizable framework. It was designed to be a CRM, not just for DLA, but can be used in other businesses as well. But then we discovered that there's a need in DLA to really have help the supplier community to manage and process their bids. So that's how we ended up on building a specific module for DLA, and we still constantly add features, more automation. So whatever you see today might change in a few months as well. But just know that it is in active it is in active development. We have a team of developers working on it, and we are looking to expand even more features. And the goal is really one. The goal is to do as much automation as possible for really automating all the parts when it comes to the DLA business, including research, finding the solicitations, being able to use it as a CRM, right? Once you find and you want to place a bid on a solicitation, be able to manage that, all that process in Loocey, but also not just in higher level management. We're going to give you really specific features, including preparing your codes to be sent to the suppliers, and even automating that part. And we'll kind of try to show, I'll try to show some of that process. But I think we have enough folks. I'm gonna go ahead and start the presentation. And I want this to be an interactive process, so you guys feel free to stop me, ask questions. Don't have to wait to the end. But just know that our team, under a different company, we also have been trying to do a few bids just so we understand. Again, our long-term vision is really make this a giant company in terms of the software. So we're not really interested in competing with you, just putting that out there. But we do want to go through the process ourselves as well, so we can fully understand what the needs are, what the issues are, what the challenges are. So with our testing, we have discovered a few things that we are constantly adding, like I said, features to address those things. But also we want to work with the community of our users to see what challenges they're having and see how we can help them as well. So let's start by understanding the process of DLA workflow. And again, I know some of you have the experience, some of you don't, so I'll try to quickly go over it. But if you have questions, please feel free to stop me, ask questions. Yeah. So what is the process of the DLA so far that we've kind of gotten together, right? So when you start a DLA business, you have to identify your FSC codes, yeah, right? The categories you want to focus on. And then you have to identify your capabilities and limits, because if you are a new business, most likely you can't bid on $1 million contract. You could, but sometimes, maybe you don't have the financing, you don't have the infrastructure to even, when you win that contract, to even support or fulfill that, right? So that's why we work with folks. We also tell them, make sure you understand your capabilities before you go out and bid on something. Make sure that you can deliver, because DLA has a scorecard that they keep on all the suppliers. And if you bid on something and you can't deliver, and that means most likely your chances of winning again are gonna go down, right? The other thing we discovered with our testing, in a way, is that many folks, when they get an email, when they request a code, or they even sometimes don't even request a code, they might look at the website price. So if they request a code, they might get an email, and then they use that as, a de facto code from the supplier, but usually it's not, right? So we try, even though we don't have any training courses yet, eventually we might have training courses because we get a lot of questions. We get, there's a lot of issues in this business, I think, where we want to address. But the code process is you should really get an official code from the supplier, right? Which is like usually in a PDF form that has the information, the details, and so on. And the final thing is set your goals, right? What is the goals that, how much time you have, right? How much time you want to invest in this, if this is your full-time focus. So you should really set your goals, how many bids you want to do. And we'll kind of talk about that section a bit more. So once you identify all that, the next step is actually doing the work, right? What's involved? Finding the contracts, right? Requesting quotes from suppliers, calculating your expenses and product costs. Once you receive the codes, researching any prior awards, just so you have an idea on the price that you're bidding on. And then you finalize your bid, you place your bid in DIBBS, right? And then you repeat this process as many times as you can to basically have more winnings. Any questions about the process? Anything so far? Okay, moving on. So everyone, I'm sure most people know this process. I just wanted to kind of put it there. But let's go to the next step. So we kind of know the high levels. But now I want to kind of quickly dive into a bit more detail on each of these, just so we have a better understanding, right? So what do we mean by finding open contracts? Be able to search, by various parameters, be able to search by set-asides. The third thing is exclude contracts. So I didn't put a lot of information on this one, but you don't want to bid on everything, right? If something requires ISO certification or has tech docs specific contracts or has maybe paint that has a different way of storing it, or maybe it needs a JCP certification. The goal with DLA is to minimize the amount of time spent, right? Hopefully initially at least, on finding these contracts, because if you spend an hour on one contract just understanding it, you're gonna have a hard time winning, because we'll kind of dive into that in a second. But being able to exclude the contracts that you cannot win either way is, I think, it should you should pay attention to that, because it's not just searching the high level parameters. You should really understand the contract and understand that if it has certain requirements that you don't have, you should not spend your time on it, right? And then finally, understanding the packaging requirements. I know there's the simple STM, there's MIL standards, and so on. And I know some people are new to that, but initially just knowing what it requires, I think, is helpful, because then you can kind of estimate what your packaging costs are gonna be if you know that initially. Requesting quotes from suppliers. Again, same process, right? For each DLA contract, we have approved source suppliers. We find the cage code, we find their website, we basically find their email address, we draft an email to request the code, right? That email should contain the NSN, the part number that's specific to that supplier. I think a lot of people make that mistake of they send them random emails without a lot of details. And what happens is that if the supplier sees that you didn't take the time to put all the details in there that they want, the way they want, or they either just don't respond, or they'll just keep asking you 5-10 questions, right? And then by the time you do all the back and forth, you spend like an hour, 2 hours on that one email, right? Versus if you had all the information initially in that initial email, they have all the information they need to give you a code, right? So it's really important when you send that initial email to draft it in a way that's got all the details, right? And you email the supplier, and then hopefully they'll respond. If they don't, you follow up. Eventually, maybe even call them, right? Any questions so far? I know it's I'm sure some of you know the details, but yes, I saw a question, Erwin. At the end of this quick, I'm not gonna present this entire time, right? So just kind of heads up, we'll dive into the program in a few minutes. And yes, everything that I'm talking about is basically are kind of the bullet points for us to automate, for us to help you kind of make the process more efficient, minimize the time. So I'll show you all the steps that we're talking about, how these things are done in Loocey. So you can see how you do it now versus how you would do it in Loocey, and see how much time you'll save. And then it's really that's kind of our plan to it should be 10x difference, right? Like a heads up, my even as a slogan on the website, if we can't save you 10x time, it's probably not worth paying for this. I don't know. That's how I see it. So our goal is to save you, at least 10 times. I mean, if you were to do this manually versus Loocey, you should do 10 times more bids with Loocey. Let me put it this way, right? But I'll show you that. Just hang in there, please. Final step, next step is bid calculation. What do you need for bid calculation? You need the code that you received, right? You need to know your expenses, such as packaging, shipping, labor, and then you have to understand your profit margins, right? Yes, everyone has Excel sheets and so on, but keep in mind, you have to do this for every single RFQ, for every single contract, which means you either have like 5,000 Excel sheets somewhere, or you keep adding tabs. Eventually, they'll die on you. And keep in mind, for each RFQ, you also want to take notes, right? What happened? What's the stage of it? Did you get the code? Did you not get the code? Do you have to follow up? Whatever. So this is where the CRM part comes handy, because we're not dealing with 1 or 2 or 5 contracts, right? You're doing volume, and I'll talk about that in a second. Verify contract details. Yeah, sometimes what happens is with our testing, the supplier might send you a code. You have to be careful. Sometimes they might give you a code for a different product. They might say, hey, we don't have this one. We're going to bid you on alternative. Sometimes they just make a mistake and give you a price for another product, or maybe that they didn't calculate the quantity right, and so on. So once you receive the code, it's really, you have to pay attention to those things, right? Make sure that it matches with the contract. And then finally, you place your bid in DIBBS. That's the process, and then you move on to the next one. So what are the challenges with this process, right? So with our testing, we discovered is the common issue of no response from the suppliers, right? And sometimes they respond with no bid, or the product is obsolete, or the no bid, or sometimes also means they might have a different supplier. They might work with an exclusive supplier. They might have the distributors. They might have so no bid has many different reasons. They might give it to you. They might not give it to you. But sometimes they also bid on it themselves, and this is also important. This is why we track that in Loocey. I'll show you that in a second as well. We show you if they're bidding on it themselves or not. Although you can't know everything, because if they have another distributor who bids on their behalf, it's something that you can't easily know. But at least if they are the approved source, if they're bidding, we show you that in Loocey. Now, and then sometimes they give you a code, but it's too high, right? The price is too high. Even if you bid, and sometimes you do bid, and then we kind of lose by 50% margin, right? Which is really crazy, because you would think your price might come close at least, even if you lost, but no. Most of the time, if you get codes without the relationship, without finding those unique, we call them unicorn suppliers, that will give you a good price, that will give you a decent price, and then you can have your margin on top of it. Keep in mind, it's not just your margin, right? A lot of people make that mistake. Your margin, it comes after all the expenses, and a lot of people don't account for the packaging and labor costs that goes into repackaging the goods before you send to DLA. So, which is why a lot of times the the price they give you, sometimes you have to add almost 30, 40, 50% on top of it, because if you take out all the costs you have with the packaging, there's not much left. And finally, you have to have a way to organize all this stuff, right? Organize all the bids, organize their statuses, take notes on them, and what's going on with everyone, right? So those are the challenges, and I'm sure there's more. I just didn't have time to put more stuff here. I want to keep it simple. So what are the solutions? So far, I know there might be more, but I've kind of narrowed it down to 30 different solutions. Unicorn supplier, I kind of talked about it. So when you'll end up with someone, if you were in this business for a while, eventually you'll find a supplier who will try to work with you either exclusively, or they will just give you a really good price. So you create that relationship, and then you kind of focus on that supplier, right? You focus on their parts, and then you build a better business. But it's hard, right? So how do you find unicorn suppliers? It's really hard. So and I'll kind of come back to this in a second. But the second solution is becoming your own manufacturer, which is again really hard for new business. But if you have that capability to become a manufacturer, there is a process of becoming an approved source for a product. There's a whole set of process. I'm not going to go into it now, but if that's your goal, go for it, because if you are the approved source on a product, most likely you're gonna win, or at least be able to compete with the other approved sources in terms of the price, right? And then the last one, which is gonna be our focus today, is the high volume of bids, right? So if you don't have a unicorn supplier, if you're not the manufacturer, to win in this business, you need to do volume of bids. You need to do a lot of bids, and you can't just do like 1 or 2 a week and assume that you're gonna make a business out of it. Most likely, you're gonna fail unless you get lucky. Sometimes some people get lucky, and I know some people who got lucky. So it's not all the case. It's not all the time, but it is getting really hard, because there's a lot of competition, but at the same time, the suppliers are not giving you the best prices. So you spend a lot of time trying to, email all these suppliers, right, with the specific part numbers and sends all these things. You're spending all this time. Sometimes they don't respond to you, or if they respond to you, they don't give you a good price. So what is the solution? Solution is to do high volume of bids, at least initially, until you find your unicorn supplier 1 or 2, right? That is my suggestion. That's also what we're trying to do as well with our testing company. So again, the goal is, like I said, we went over the process, right? Knowing this process, what are the steps we can take to minimize the effort and to allow us to do high volume of bids. So, and that's kind of where Loocey falls into, right? Loocey is not meant for, if you just want to do 1 bid a week, 2 bids a week, 10 bids a week, yeah, go ahead and use your Excel sheet. That's fine. I think you'll be fine with that. Loocey shines when it comes to high volume of bids, and I'll try to show you this demo in a minute. That's kind of where we fall. And again, like I said before, I know many people who have spoken in the industry, they don't like this process. They want to focus on suppliers. That's fine. Like I said, if you find your unicorn suppliers, or if you have them now, totally fine. Just maybe focus on them. Loocey will still help you to do all those bids. But if you don't have the suppliers, we basically give you the system to do the high volume of bids, right? So in terms of the features on Loocey, and again, in a second, we'll go into the demo, but we allow you, basically, we have a daily pool of the DIBBS data into Loocey. So we pull the data on a daily basis. We allow you to filter, save your searches, adjust, have as many searches as saved searches as you like, filter them the way you like. We also parse out the PDF. We use some AI as well in PDF parsing. So we tell you when it comes to if certain requirements that these contracts have, like ISO, like JCP, or tech tags, or other things. So we keep adding new features, right? It's not all done and said. We even show you the packaging, the type, right? So again, like going back to my initial conversation, our goal is for you to spend the minimum amount of time to be able to do high volume of bits, right? So at each step we take is the features we add is really that is the goal, to minimize the time taken. Someone else is trying to join. Okay. So code requests. I guess before code requests, copy RFQ to CRM with one click. So, like I said, we bring the data over to Loocey, and then, but that's kind of shared data that everyone has access to with a Loocey user. Yeah. But then you also have a dedicated CRM that's dedicated for your business, which basically means everything you put in there, it's really for your private data. So what happens is we have a feature called one-click copy. So you can select the RFQs, one or more. Sometimes I select 10, 20, 50 at a time. It doesn't matter. Sometimes, yeah, if you select a few more, might take a couple of minutes, but it's going to copy over all the information to your bidding board. We call it the bidding board. And again, give me a second. I'll show you that in a live demo. But we basically copy all the information. We organize it in your CRM the way that makes sense from data modeling perspective. And then we add on top of it, we give you features to manage the statuses, take notes on them, and so on. And the next step we help you with is requesting codes, because like I said, those templates that the actual email code that you send to supplier needs to have the specific details. If you don't do that, those emails would get lost. They'll never get back to you, or they'll keep asking you all those questions in a back and forth email. So, what we have done, we spent a lot of time on this, and I'll show you. I think we have a demo video on it as well, but I'll show you it in a second. We basically pull out all the information, including the manufacturer, the part number, the NSN. We even add like a request ID, so you can go back and find them easily. In a second, I'll show you. But basically, we draft the email for you, and then all you have to do is copy paste to your whatever email you use and send. Having said that, in a month or two, we are adding email marketing module, which basically is going to allow you to email directly from inside Loocey. And the way that's going to work is that you're going to connect your email to Loocey, whether it's Gmail or Outlook or whatever. So when we send the email, we send it on your behalf from your account. Okay. So we're not using. So I think it's important, because otherwise they might get spammed, they might get filtered out, or so on. But the email is being sent just like you were sending it manually. We're just automating, right? That's okay. That's kind of the architecture we are building now. So when we have the automation, it means it's gonna save a lot more time, because you don't even have to copy paste to send the email, right? You just do one click, it's gonna send all the emails for you. And of course, once you receive the codes back, we have a really nice, I think, interface for calculating your bids, calculating your profits, your costs, your profit margins, and so on. I'll show you in a second. And finally, again, Loocey is meant to organize all of your information, statuses, notes, and so on. And the final point I want to make, I know some of our users have this. This is a team effort, right, guys? So I know a lot of people have virtual assistants or might have employee. It is a lot of work. So if you have another full-time job, and if you want to get a virtual assistant to help you initially do all this labor manual work, that's fine. Loocey will just boost their productivity by 10x. That's the goal. So even if you say, oh, I have someone like that, she or he is doing it now, that's fine. But they might do like 10 bids a day, or 10 emails, or 10 actual codes a day, versus with Loocey, you could technically do hundreds, right? Any questions? So this kind of concludes our presentation. Now I'm gonna go into Loocey and show you some of the stuff we just talked about, but I want to take a minute and see if you have any questions. You can also write in the chat if you want, or just unmute and.
Hey, Michael. This is Craig. Thanks for the explanation and showing all this useful information. What is like, do you provide like, first of all, I would like to know the price for the software. And once we get the software, do we get like initial training, one-on-one training that how to use the software?
Good questions. Thank you. I'll show you the pricing page in a second, but we do have. So this is the pricing now we have. Depending on when you're buying it, and if you are on this call, I give a 20% discount. Yeah. So ping me after the meeting. Mention that you've been on the call. I'll give you a 20% discount on top of these prices. But basically, we now just, again, this will change most likely because we're still in beta, and this price, if you think about it, it's not much compared to how much volume you're getting from Loocey. And with our calculation, if you are able to do 10x more bids, even if you win one extra contract because of Loocey, it's gonna pay itself like for 5 years, right? So, but we have 3 plans. The one is user. Again, we do recommend get the 5-user one if you can, because, like I said, this is a team effort, and if you want to add employees, contractors to help you with the process, you can. Now, as I said, we still include this here. This, pretty soon we're gonna take this out, but for now, I still do provide private one-on-one trainings. Now, we do have a lot of demos on YouTube now. We keep adding more demos. So before our training, I tell the new users to go watch the demos to start using the system. And then when you come to our one-on-one training, at that point, hopefully you have some questions written down, and you have like specific use cases, like specific questions for me, so it'll kind of be more productive, right? Versus me showing you the same stuff that you see on the demos in YouTube, right? Any other questions about the training or pricing? But like I said, ping me after the meeting if you want the 20% discount. We don't have it all the time. It's end of the month. So if you get signed up before the end of the month, get the discount. Okay, so let me zoom in a little. Can you see my screen? Okay, I'm gonna try to show you some of the things. So the bottom left section is the shared data that we pull every day. This is live data coming from DIBBS. This data, like I said, gets parsed out. The PDFs get parsed out as well. We pull data from various places, including the history that you see in the PDF contracts. We kind of, you can click on the NSN, it'll pop up a dialog. It'll show you, this one didn't have history, I think. Let me try something else. It'll basically show you the approved parts. Let me filter out to this, maybe this. So the top section here, you'll also see in the other demo videos, but this is all your saved filters or saved searches in a way. And again, this is unique to you. Whatever you do here, whatever filters you save here, it's only assigned to your company. So we have really, comprehensive filtering options here. You can filter from various columns. The ones I usually like to do is, we have like, all right, so requirement checkbox, JCP, tech docs, or COTS, which stands for commercial off-the-shelf items. I know some people want to bid on these ones. We have the FSC point, destination point. We also kind of have quick tool tips sometimes to help you understand if you're new. Like, hey, you know, inspection point, destination means inspections are at the DLA location, not yours. If it's origin, then they come to you for inspections, right? Let me try one of these items. So sometimes if they you know, if they don't have approved sources, it might be like specific technical requirements they have that, you know, you sometimes get those as well. But in this case, let's do the common case. Yeah. So these are the approved sources companies with their part numbers, right? If you click on the cage code, it'll show you what the company details are. A lot of times we have the email as well, a website, a list, the phone number, and so on. Sometimes we don't, then you just Google and find, but usually we have a marketing team that's focused on finding these details for you. So a lot of times we do have it, sometimes we don't. And this is the NSN history. So we show you for this specific item, when was it last sold. In this case, you see that it was actually a few days ago, or yeah, a few days ago. This is the unit cost. So this is what I'm saying. Like when you get the code back from the supplier and they give you like $20 a unit, right, price, you look at this, you go like, there's no way I can win this, because if you place a bid, even if it's like, let's say they give you the same price, $632, right? But by the time you add your margin, you add your cost, you add your everything else on top of it, your bid price is gonna be way higher than this, which means, you know, you probably not gonna win, because if this is a recent purchase, and I'm sure, you know, it came up again, same guy, if they were to bid again, they would win, right? So this flag here, approved source bidding, is this is what I was talking about before. We show you if approved, so these are the approved parts, these are the approved sources, right? If they win a contract within the last 24 months, we check this off, or check on, and we show it to you. So which means if you see this checked, means they are bidding, they are competing with you, and most likely they're gonna win. So it's, you know, I usually don't spend time on those contracts, right? Unless sometimes if there's like more approved sources, you might still have a chance, although it's hard, right? If these are manufacturers, and if they manufacture this product, usually they get a better price. So even like even if they're like approved distributor and so on. So let's move on real quick. And any questions so far? So a couple things here. So we have the FSC code. We have a quick link to DIBBS. So if you click on this, it quickly takes you to DIBBS, like in this case. Now, status column, our status column is new. We don't have the latest status yet. We're still working on it to kind of keep the statuses in sync, but it's hard because DLA doesn't give us status data. So we suggest always to click on this link. It'll take you directly to that specific RFQ, and basically see a lot of them are like taken out. I think these are new. Yeah, so it is open. So you want to see open before you spend time on bidding it. Yeah. So let's go over some of the other columns. So we show you, like I said, tech docs, and again, I have filtered out see tech docs equal false. You know, you can add more filters here, and if you know, like I don't like having JCP. If you don't have JCP certification, you probably don't want to bid on those. So you can filter out JCPs equal false. You can filter out ISOs and so on. The other thing I really like is also somewhat of a new feature is total estimate. You know, we basically look at the last unit price sold and then quantity that they want. we give you a quick overview of the total estimate, right, of the contract. So you kind of understand if it's something you can pursue or not. Like in this case, yes, yeah, on my total estimate, I want anything above 1,000, less than 5,000, or if you want to do between 5,000 and 10,000, basically change these numbers around. And this is useful because when people are just starting out, you don't want to bid on like 100,000 contracts, right? Sometimes it's even if you win those, it's gonna be hard to, even though you can sometimes finance them, right? So there's always options, but it's really up to your comfort level, what size contracts you want to go on. Because keep in mind with DLA, I guess with any government contract, you have to purchase the goods, right? You have to pay the supplier, get the product, package it, send over to a DLA before you get paid. Again, there's a delay in there, right? A month or two before you get the money back. But you can filter out based on the total estimate. Let's see some of the other filters we have here. So we have the set aside filter, and it's filtered out based on the set aside. Packaging code, I like to show as well. This is the ASTM standard. You kind of quickly see, even in a contract, if it's ASTM is the easy ones, right? Probably want to start with this. Mill standards usually require more packaging knowledge and basically know-how. Will beta users be grandfathered in? Yes. So beta users will be grandfathered in. We're not gonna raise prices on the beta users. But again, like I said, try to get in as soon as you can. I'm not sure when is the next time we're raising the prices, but as soon as I think the email module is done, we'll probably adjust the prices again because we are spending quite a bit of resources on the email module. So this is the research part, and again, we have other stuff here. You can, depending on which way you want to search, right? You can start with the NSM parts. You can go to the NSM parts from start. These are the contracts. But if you want to focus on products, look at the product history and stuff, you can also come here. You can also come to the approved parts. If you want to look up something with the part number, you can come here. You can see which company is providing that part. If you have a part number. We also have the companies. If you have the companies you want to search, you can also search the companies and get their website. A lot of times there's email for them, phone number, and so on. The award history is useful if you just want to focus on researching the history of something. You can just come here. And then finally, the FSC codes. We have the full list of FSC codes that you can quickly go over. One last thing I did want to show, but it's a new feature. I haven't really disclosed it to anyone yet. It may not even work all the time, but let me see if okay, so this one has it. Okay, so we're gonna actually make this screen a little better. It's kind of hard to adjust, but we have this new column here. Again, even our users don't know about this. Yeah, so it's a new column. I haven't told anyone about this yet. It's called bids. We basically go look at other historical data in the government, because all this data gets eventually archived somewhere. We bring in the data and show you, for that specific award, how many bids they had, the government had, right? And this is useful because if you see, like, if you want to bid on something that's got, like, in the prior contract they had like 10 bids or 10 bids, it's probably a lot more likely that those same individuals, the same companies, will go back and bid on those contracts again, right? Versus if you see something that only had like one bid before, and now you have a lot better chances of winning that, right? Because you're competing with, a lot of times, with one person versus 5-10 other folks, right? And it's kind of a hidden feature I haven't really disclosed. It's really new. I haven't really talked about it or disclosed it yet. And then we even capture the solicitation number, because there's a word number and a word ID and a solicitation contract ID, which is separate. And we don't go back all the way. We just, I think, pulled in the data for the last couple of years or so. That's why you see the data being filled in since 2021. I think that's probably good enough to go back to. You don't want to go back too far. One other nice feature coming, it's not done yet, but I'll tell you that. So there's this thing called no bid list, which means sometimes DLA provides no bid list, which they say, hey, for these contracts, we don't have any bids. We are gonna pull in that data for Loocey as well. Okay, so we're gonna allow you to search the contracts that DLA themselves have told us that they have no bids on. Okay, so we are gonna pull in those contracts. Again, I can't talk too much about it yet, but just hang in there. If you become a Loocey user, you'll see that feature coming up soon. Okay, so far we talked about the research, and so yeah, I know it's going over, I think, over the initial time, but let's kind of focus on the CRM features now. So now let's say you want to bid stuff, you want to bid on stuff. So you can select one or more contracts, solicitations. Here, this thing pops up. You can say, hey, copy to my bidding board. So let's see, the last one is 045884. So what happens is now it's gonna copy all that stuff and organize it in your CRM, right? Which is the top section here. It says get copied to. So if you go back to the bidding board, this is probably where you're gonna spend most of your time, the bidding board. See it copied the contracts over. So on a high level here, you have statuses, and these statuses are adjustable. You can change them, delete them, so on. But we give you some default ones that we found have worked well for us as well. So we are giving you set statuses. And if you are a Loocey user, I know some people are. If you don't see them, you can always go back and add. I know we keep adding some new ones, but basically, initially it might be blank or to do. It's up to you. You can say to research if you're researching. When you send out the code request, you change that to code request sent, or when you receive the codes, set it to codes received. And then I like to have one more process status in between, which is ready to bid, because sometimes you want to bundle stuff together before you go to DIBBS and bid. So just codes received is not enough. You want to put this to ready to bid when you've done all the calculation, you came up with all the numbers and stuff, then you change it to ready to bid. And then, like I said, you do have the same filters here. So you can, let's say, hey, I want to add another here that's called ready to bid. Okay, I can add a new view and then filter out to only see it status ready to bid. Okay, and then I can just save this view. So which means now I just go here and I quickly see which ones I have to bid on. Another quick trick that we've just added is control click or right click, open new tab, do control click so you can open a new tab. Sometimes it does, did it log me out? Yeah. Sometimes it does take a minute to open the solicitation because there's a lot of information. Like here, if you open this up, so there's a lot of information is pulling, and sometimes it takes a second, although we are trying to improve that. But so once you go into the details, and I have videos on this, so I'll probably not spend too much time on this, but the top section, you kind of show you quickly what your bid price is. It basically copies and puts all the approved sources, suppliers into this list. It's called supplier codes. Here's the nice part, right? The email part. This is, again, the biggest time saver, I think, is this part. So And a lot of times you have multiple, so you select all of them, right? So what happens if you select them is this bulk email sender. You click on this. It creates this template for you. Okay, this is where all the time is saved along with everything else. But it basically, creates this data for you, which basically is the manufacturer cage code, their part number, NSN. It even creates this subject line for you with a request ID. This request ID is also your internal ID. So when they email you back, you know exactly which one it is. You can go back and find. Again, I put some additional in the details. Eventually, we'll give you a way to change this template if you want to, but it's good to let them know that, hey, this is where Department of Defense, DoD, we want a bid, official bid, right? We kind of mentioned that we want an official code on this, and so on. Right? And we even give you the email address if you have it in the system, right? So now you just copy this, you go to your email client, paste, copy subject, copy email, and send, right? You move on to the next one. Any questions? Can we track SAM bids in here? You can. So SAM bids, actually, we have a feature coming soon, which is going to tie directly with SAM to search the contracts from SAM. But in the meantime, the bid management, if you think about it, yes, even if you do SAM's other not DLA stuff, you can manually create this, right? You can manually add a new one, a new ID, new contract, whatever the SAM gives you. So you technically do this the same way, because we have this thing called subcontractor codes, which I haven't really talked about. This is meant for sam.gov work, because usually it's a service type thing, and you can get the same thing, get codes from your subcontractors, add them here, add them up, and so on. So you have these product details. Let's go back to the other one. So product details is where they come back and give you a code that, let's say they give you $25 here, what your margin on top of it, right? Let's say 30%. So it calculates on top and shows you the whole total price, the bid unit price, quantity asked versus quantity here. So sometimes, let's say a supplier says they only have 50 or whatever, so you want to make sure that they match with the code they give you versus the asked from the DLA. Let's see, are there any other questions? Can I add columns to this board? Yes, you can. So adding columns is as simple, and we have a lot of videos on YouTube. I'd suggest definitely watch them, but this is a really comprehensive system. See, right? We have all kinds of columns you can add. You can, let's say, I want to add single line text, or maybe let's add a date, which is a follow-up date, right? I'll call it 2, and basically you can add this date, you can adjust them, you can change the order on them. The NSN even here is linked with the live data. So if you click on this NSN, it'll still bring up that same dialog that shows you the approved parts, NSN history, and so on. Status here, you can manually change. Eventually, we'll automate this, but at least you have a way of changing this to kind of keep track of stuff, because, like I said, we have this link here, DIBBS RFQ. Where do you go? So if you come here and say, okay, in this case, it's removed. So, you don't want to spend time on it, you just say it's removed, right? And then you move on to the next one. This is also a new column, priority, we just started, because what I found is that some suppliers will give you better codes. So sometimes you want to prioritize those higher. So we have this column that basically can prioritize certain bids higher versus not. So let me read through some questions I got here. Yeah, I'll try to send the recording to everyone. Although, yeah, I think I should have everyone's email. Although I might even push this to YouTube as well. We'll see. But yeah, they'll definitely. I'm recording this, so I'll give you the link. This is dream come true. Thank you. So, again, that's what we want to hear, because it did take us a lot of effort, but at the same time, we wanna see the value that it drives your businesses, right? You know, just having a tool is not enough if it doesn't drive enough value, right? For us, like I said, the 10x idea is not just the phrase we use. We want to provide as much value that it is 10x. If it's not 10x, you should not pay for this. That is kind of my mojo. Is there a screen in account that has all the info needed to put a code into DIBBS? So you basically, yes, you basically just need this screen. Which one was the one we just did? I think was it this one? And we're gonna try to speed this up, but yeah. So in DIBBS, they generally ask you the unit price. This is kind of the important number you have. Okay. They also ask you, to choose which supplier it is. You see, so the supplier. So in the product details, okay. So these are the codes, and sometimes you might have multiple here, right? You might have 5 or 10, whatever, or 2 or 3 or 5. It's up to you. So you might request codes from all of them. And like I said, this is where it becomes handy, this feature, right? When you have multiple, see, it brings all of them here, and each one has their own unique data when you're sending email. So it's pulling over everything for you. It's organizing in a way that when you email this guy, they know it's their product, because you have all the information pulled out from the contract and made it so that they'll understand it, right? But once maybe one or more reply with the code, what happens is you come this product details section, you select, like, let's say this guy gave you the code. You basically come here and say, hey, I want this company actually gave me the code, so I'm going to select that as a supplier. So just so for my records as well, I know which company gave me the code and what the price was. So I'm going with it because they gave me the best price. I'm gonna go with them, right? So note section is, again, you can take whatever notes you want, right? And it's gonna capture the person's name. In this case, it's my template. So, but if you have users, it's gonna show you who's making the note. Files, you can. For now, we suggest, we don't have actual upload. Also, though we are working on it, we suggest that you just put the files in Google Drive or somewhere and then put the link here. So what's nice is that you can put this link here, and then you have like one-click access to whatever file you stored on a Google Drive. So it's kind of everything's linked to this specific RFQ, right? Let's see, is there any other questions? Thank you. Someone's gonna try it. Thinks it's a game changer. Erwin, thank you, Erwin. Yes, so hopefully it is a game changer. Like I said, guys, DLA is not simple, and whoever tells you it's simple, it's not. I can tell you from personal experience, right? It's not a simple game. It's not an easy game. A lot of times spend all this time preparing these codes, and basically someone else overbids you. So we built the system in a way where it's a volume game. So you basically want to minimize all the steps that takes you time into a system that does most of the work for you. So you can do like 10, 100 bids a day. To do like 10, 50 bids a day, it usually means you have to send 10x more email, right? If you want to do 10 bids a day, it means you probably have to send 100 plus emails per day, right? Because like I said before, a lot of suppliers don't get back to you. Some of them get back to you with no bid, or some of them say, hey, they're bidding also, so they're not going to give you a code. Some of them, they give you a price, but it's too high. So when you do volume of bids, volume of quotes, some of them might come back to you with a better price. So those are the ones you want to focus on. Yeah. Let's see what other questions. Do you have filter for CMMI solicitations? CMMI. I haven't seen CMMI. Is that if you can send me a sample contract that has that reference in it? Like I said, we are parsing out the entire PDF, so which means anything in the PDF is a fair game for us to pull out and make it a filter flag for you. So if you need that, just reach out to me, and I will add another column for that filter. We just haven't had that ask before. See. And guys, feel free to speak out. I know everyone's trying to do it in chat, but maybe it's quicker if you just speak out and ask your question. Okay, so one other thing, I think some people are still writing questions, but let's see. So a couple other things I want to show you. So when you copy the stuff over, it basically organizes everything into your bidding board bidding database, right? So basically you have your suppliers, it copies over from the shared database, yeah, and puts it into your list. So which here you have copies all the data, right? Copies the cage code, phone number, email if we have it, the website, and so on. These are also really nice columns we discovered with testing, is that you want to basically come here and say, this part is not fully done yet, but we are working on it. Basically, for certain people that when they say, I guess it's up to you. You could say skip, no skip is coding, right? The column is coding. Some of them, they're not coding. Some of them code too high, so you want to select too high. Some of them might give you, hey, you have to find distributors. So you technically don't want to email this guy if they tell you once that go find distributors. What happens is that because we do volume of bids, you don't want to email the same person 5 times, even though they got back to you and said, hey, we're not bidding, or we have distributors and so on. So this feature is useful because then we're gonna use this flag when I showed you when that email template pops up. We're gonna filter out the ones that you selected they're not coding. So it doesn't make sense to email them again if they're not coding, or you have selected they're not coding, or you want to skip them and so on. So we have that feature coming up. Of course, you have statuses here as well. If to manage your relationship, if you have an account number with them, you have, and so on. The way that the database is organized is really, it's not a simple copy. Yeah, we actually take the time to organize the data in a way that makes sense. So for each supplier, there's inventory as well, which is tied to the NSN number. And if you can come back here, add more inventory for this supplier. For instance, can take notes. Same thing. You can add contacts and so on. So it is like a CRM, but it's really organized CRM for DIBBS. Yeah. You have products here, and then services. His stuff like shipping cost, it's up to you. We can put whatever stuff you want here. And what's nice is that once you add those details there, you can come here, service details. You can select, hey, let's say they're gonna charge you shipping for it, $50. It's gonna calculate that into your bid calculation. Okay, you can also maybe put a margin on top of shipping if you want. Makes sense. I should have probably done on this example here. So it's really up to you what services you add, and then that's how the system will manage. Any other questions? I know we're coming over to 1 hour for this meeting. I think we're gonna wrap up, but I want to make sure I want to answer. So Erwin raised the hand. Erwin, do you have a question? And feel free to speak out, guys. I know I'm trying to read as quickly as I can, but if I somehow missed your question, please just unmute and speak up. Yeah.
So all this supplier info only comes from the DIBBS PDF, right? Nothing comes from outside. So you're not finding any supplier from outside or Google or AI sources.
Not yet, even though it's a thing, it's a feature we're looking into. But it's, you know, the supplier that DLA gives you is just a name and a cage code. So I guess we are finding other stuff. We are finding the website, phone number, and so on for the ones that they give you, email sometimes.
Right. But all
But
coming from the DLA website, nothing comes from the outside. So let's say,
from outside, yeah, go ahead.
let's say if I have part A, I'm looking for a supplier. But apart from what DLA has in their records, there may be a supplier outside of that too, or manufacturer outside of that too. But you don't
Yeah.
provide that manufacturer list.
We don't. It doesn't mean you can audit though. I think I showed that in some of the other demos videos. You can check, but basically, if you found some other supplier for this NSN, let's say what is the NSN for this? So this is the NSN. So let's say you come here, you say, hey, I found a new supplier. It's called my new supplier. You add that supplier. Basically, now they're in the list. You can add their details, and then you go into detail of that supplier, and you basically add that product, whatever part number they have, and maybe it's the same part. Again, with outside, we want to be careful because you have to make sure that they are authorized to sell you those products. That's why outside vendors are sometimes hard to verify, even though you can find them on Google. Because with DLA, it's really strict. They has to be same one of them same manufacturers, right? If it's not the same manufacturer, that the ones that they gave you, they should either have like authorized letter from those manufacturers that telling you them that they actually got the part from the same suppliers, or they might reject your product, right? Because this is the defense industry, they're really strict where the part is manufactured and then quality and so on. So yes, you could find from outside vendors, but you just have to be careful that they are approved vendors of the original suppliers, right? And the way when I was showing you this, so basically once you add your suppliers in here, you can always go back to your contract and add them to the list. Gotta work on speeding up this page, but so you can do add, you can find that new one we just added to the list, and same thing, right? Put their details. And we also have another status here, which we say email sent or code received, so you can kind of manage each of the codes as well in here. Any other questions?
I may have missed this before, but when you're looking at RFQs, I'm sorry if this is a basic question, but we're just starting with the DIBBS. Do I still need to put in the NSN numbers or the other codes in first before I filter everything out, or am I able to populate everything at once and kind of trim it down from there?
Could you repeat the first part again? So it's gonna automatically, I guess if you didn't see it, it is gonna automatically populate if you copy from our board here, from RFQs here. So basically, if this research part, now you can also go directly on DIBBS and search, right? But if you search here, find it, you can always come back to Loocey, search the same solicitation number, find it here, and then just do a one-click copy to board. So even if you find it on DIBBS, you can still come back to Loocey, search for that same contract number, and then copy to your board.
I guess what I mean is, because we're new to this, and I would put like maybe 10 federal supply codes and then hit search, and then they would all come up. Is it the same style here, or can I just populate?
It's the same style.
Do that first?
It's the same style. Yeah, it's the same style, plus more stuff. Yeah, so So we have these filters will basically allow you to filter based on different things. So this is the major column, right? FSC code. We have this feature called in. Okay, it's like a search in meaning one of these matching one of these. Okay, and this is a list. You can add more items here, right? You can do that for other columns as well. Okay, so you don't technically you don't have to go to DIBBS. You can just come here, as long as you know your FSC codes or whatever search parameters you want to use. Do them here. So and then you can save that search. So when next time you go in, you can have your tab dedicated for whatever search you want to call it.
Yeah, because this looks like, because as we're learning, we're finding a lot of things we think we can bid, but then after doing the research, we're like, it's a no-go. So we're just trying to trim it down. Instead of seeing like 500 things, I can only see 40 that maybe we can do. You know what I mean? Because it looks good, and then when you start doing the research and you read it, you're like, no, I just spent 20 minutes on one that I know I can't do.
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole point, right? That's why these filters are really important, even though I quickly covered them. But the JCP, ISO, inspection point, TikToks, a lot of these filters are really important filters. And DLA, no one else gives it to you, right? These filters don't exist anywhere else, I don't think. Because we pull out that data from the PDF, we show it to you. Like I said, the goal is, like you said, to minimize that finding process, right? Because if you spend half an hour on each contract, you can't do more than 5 and 10 a day, right? So it kills your entire day.
I would find like 20. Oh, I can do this, and then I'm like, wait, no. You know, and I wasted an hour digging down to 20, and then I see that none can be done. You know,
exactly,
and I'm like,
exactly.
This is the worst feeling.
And again, we have a close relationship with our users. If you find some other filter, I know some guy asked for the CCI or something, I'll look into it. But if you find that there's another specific filter you need, we work closely with our users. We can always add more filters for you to quickly find the stuff you need.
So if I'm correct, basically, if we get a quote on this, and then we did do a bid, in theory, our information will be in here for us to give traceability, correct?
Oh yeah. That's why it's really important to keep all the stuff in one place, right? When I mentioned, so this stuff depending. Yeah, it's okay. I know some of the other ones, some of the other guys might have the same questions. So it's okay. So how this is different from Excel is because it keeps all the information here, right? Including the calculation you did, how you came up with if you have notes, if you have any files that you link here, basically anytime. And then when they come back and asks you, and then in DLA, one other thing, right? They have a feature called internal ID or something. So you basically set this code ID, which is your internal ID, in DIBBS. Usually when they have a question, they always have that in the system as well, because sometimes the contract ID might be the same for multiple, usually not, but sometimes it's possible. But your code ID, this is auto-generating number that I always put on the when you bid, you always put that number in, so you know exactly which one it is that you basically go back and find the details on.
Yeah, this is great. It took me 2 weeks to bid on one, and I'll be honest with you, it was just for one pair of slippers, and I did it just to try. And then we got a response back a month later asking for traceability. I'm like, what? I sent the traceability in, but then I haven't heard anything a week later. But then I just said to myself, this is a volume type thing to do. You know what I mean? This is pure volume and grind down. But I was shocked that at least I got a traceability request for a pair of slippers.
That's pretty good if you did one bid and you got the traceability.
Yeah, but I think, truthfully, when I looked at it hard, I'm like, man, I think we underbid this, but like, I think I'm making 50 cents. But I haven't heard back, so I said, thank God. You know what I mean?
In reality, you're probably not losing money on it. When you say you're making 50 cents, it's telling me you probably have not done all the calculations properly. That's
Oh, no,
why
I mean, after
did?
all my costs and everything, I'm like, oh, on this pair of
Oh,
sneakers, they're
okay.
making 50
Okay,
cents. And I'm
that's
like,
good.
but I haven't heard back. I'm hoping not to hear
Because
back, actually.
new users usually don't account for the service side of things, like all the stuff you have, like the shipping, taxes, labor, packaging. You have to add all this up, research, this time you're spending. So even though you have to like adjust based on your needs to see how you still have to be competitive, right? The pricing, otherwise you can't win. Yeah. Any other questions?
Hello, is that capability that you just spoke of as far as being able to count your costs, is that in your program?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just show that to you, but basically, yeah, see how we have calculated the cost. We said, hey, our quote price they gave us is $25. So it's calculating the cost here. And then we add the margin on top of it. It shows you the margin, profit, the unit price. Now, if I add, let's say I'm paying for labor, let's say I'm measuring it 1 hour for $20 an hour or something, and then I also want to make margin on the labor, right? It's calculating all that for you, right? So it's gonna adjust the bid price, it's gonna adjust the profits to kind of see in one place what all that details are. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you for that.
Sure. Okay, guys, thanks for joining again. Like I said, ping me after. My email is just michael@loocey.com. If you want the discount until end of the month, I'll give you 20% discount. Just ping me and mention you were on the call. Otherwise, I'll probably.
Is that the email you sent? The last one? Is that yours?
Yeah, it should be my. You can just reply to that as well. Yeah, just reply to that email. It's fine. Or just michael@loocey.com. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. See you next time. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.